Hey everybody, I'm Russo. I do a little work here and there, and you are watching Raconteur Weekly, the monthly show where I talk a little bit about the things that happened in the past few weeks, and where I discuss some of the things that I may be working on in the weeks to come. So last month there wasn't a whole lot, but what was there I think was pretty good. I rambled a bit about sculpting, which is something that I don't do often, but something that I have done and that I do think about a lot. I also made an improvised light box. It's just a frame with some baker's parchment paper in it, and the sticker, which is a sort of semi-flexible measuring tool, and all of that's pretty neat. I mean, we got to see a samurai fight some skeletons, or kind of, and that's always fun. Of course, there were other things that happened. Things that were perhaps less video worthy at the time, less complete at the time maybe, or maybe I just wasn't the one working on them. One example are our log men who are now finished. That is, I did 8 and you might have seen them a few months ago, but the missus has now finished her 8. And yeah, we still have to make big guys to go with them, but I have made a couple of mushroom men, which you may also remember, which can serve that purpose for the time being. And yeah, primarily this is a Blood Bowl team, but it's a dual-purpose Blood Bowl team, because these logs could act as halflings, and the mushroom men as tree men, or the mushroom men could be vampires, and the log men their thralls. So, more to do there, but a milestone has definitely been passed. So make more minis, that's a project you might see. Or make some sort of storage for these minis, which is a project I've sort of started. As you can see here, I've got a bunch of foam and shapes that represent each of the miniatures. So I just have to cut all of these shapes into the subsequent pieces of foam, or I guess all of them except for the last one, and build a box around that, but then those log men will be safe. Or safe, that is, until they're on the pitch, at which point, who knows, the splinters may be flying. That out of the way though, there are still a lot of other Blood Bowl projects that need work, and that means a lot of topics there to cover, but still only so much time in the day. And along those lines, where would we be if we weren't constantly picking up new skills, constantly learning, that is? Where would we be? Which is a question I have been asking myself. So I looked around the house and I found some materials just sitting around, and I decided, hey, maybe I should try to make that into something. So what we have to show for that are springs and rings and a couple examples of different sizes of chainmail. The materials I found were coaxial and Cat5 Ethernet cables, which really are wobbledy or fiddledy things. So, you know, some gross soldering was necessary, but I'm getting better as I go. Granted, I really haven't formed what I guess you would call a technique yet. And again, this is an example of another thing that really isn't far enough along for its own video. You know, nothing interesting has been done yet, but knowing me, it's going to end up being a dice bag. Or something like that, though we will see. But if it turns into something interesting, for sure you'll hear about it. And past that, I guess there's still book stuff, because I still have those text blocks in desperate need of covers, but those are all more notebooks and sketch pads, and I've really been wanting to do more of a book type book. I've done that in the past. You know, take this book and then make it a smaller version of this book. But I don't really like doing that. I don't like taking other people's work and reproducing it necessarily. So I've been working on something custom. But that's sort of far future. We talk about that far future. But it's fine. I've got something short format as well. And maybe pretty soon we'll see how that works out. But you know, it's the holidays in a lot of places. So we're going slow. We're taking our time. And we're going to see what happens. We're going to see what develops because, yeah. What else can you do? So stay tuned and you can see what develops as well. And until next time, this has been Raconteur Weekly on Russo Works, and I'm Russo, out.